brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda for the last 42 years. We can see this is a man who has been in power since 1986. The brutal dictator took over power at time for Margaret Thatcher as she was down here as the Prime Minister in 10 Downing Street. Time for Margaret Thatcher. John Major came. Tony Blair came. Cameron came. The rest of the Prime Ministers. 13 Prime Ministers have served in the last 42 years. But in Uganda, Ugandans are still being murdered by the same brutal dictator, the youth of Uganda, Museveni. It's shame on the Prime Minister that every year he sends £1 billion to Uganda with no accountability, while our pensioners in the UK, while our homeless sisters and brothers, while the veterans have got no food. They have their food and they make their lunch through the food bankers. But with £1 billion is £3 in Uganda, long stay, the longest brutal dictator on earth, Museveni of Uganda. As is just the beginning of our day today here, we are going to be here the whole day. We know in the background we'll be having these megaphones and big speakers, which will be also against the far right. I think the far right is Museveni of Uganda. He is the main man who should be condemned. Museveni is beyond the far right. Museveni is no difference to Putin of Russia.
That's left.
We should be condemning the way how we condemn Putin of Russia in the same way how the UK government should be condemning Museveni of Uganda. You cannot condemn a man of Venezuela, Maduro, who was in power for 13 years as a dictator, and he was a dictator. But Museveni, who has been in power for 42 years, is not a dictator. That is the double standard of the UK government. And that's why today we are set down in the street. Let the Prime Minister know that he should stop the double standard on Ugandan. Ugandan lives matters, and the people of Venezuela and the people of Ukraine, they deserve better. That's why today we've decided to come here and call on the Prime Minister to stand with the people of Uganda. People power.
Our power.
Our power. In UK, everywhere. We'll be here today and we'll be passing the message to the Prime Minister that Ugandans have come outside. We might be few in numbers, but we represent 50 million suffering Ugandans. Thank you.
Y además cuanto más deporte hago, menos me lo... Yo.
from Uganda. And we are standing at 10 Downing Street with a clear message to the Prime Minister to wake up in his dead sleep and speak up about Uganda. The Prime Minister is still in his dreamland. He needs to wake up really on Uganda. You cannot be sending £1 billion to Uganda with no accountability. £1 billion goes to Uganda every year, and that money is going to the drain. That money should be helping our pensioners here. That money should be going to the homeless brothers and sisters who are sleeping in the streets of London and other towns around the country. The £1 billion should be helping our veterans who fought for democracy and human rights in this country. Then that money to be sent to Uganda with no accountability. Coming to Uganda, for those who don't know Uganda, is a small, beautiful, rich country in East Africa with a population of 50 million Ugandans, but we've been hijacked and ruled by the longest brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda for the last 42 years. And that is the double standard of the UK government led by Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister. We are calling on the Prime Minister to stand with the people of Uganda in condemning the longest brutal dictator on earth, a dictator from Uganda by the name of Museveni. The brutal dictator came to power, most of us were young. That was the time of Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, she's gone. We've changed 13 prime ministers in the UK, but in Uganda, Ugandans are still living under the same brutal dictator, Museveni. Why are we talking about the UK? The UK supported this brutal dictator come to power. This brutal dictator was a warlord. He was a rebel in the Royal Triangle. And the UK supported him with arms, ammunition, and naming. Up to now, after 45 years, the UK is still supporting the longest brutal dictator on earth, Museveni of Uganda. The Prime Minister should speak up about the injustice in Uganda. The UK being the mother of democracy in the world, the UK Prime Minister should be ashamed that he has kept silent on Uganda. The Prime Minister should be ashamed for letting the human rights in Uganda be abused by the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda. The Prime Minister should be ashamed that 42 years in power does not represent democracy around the world. And still the Prime Minister condemns Maduro of Venezuela, a dictator who was in power for 13 years. The UK called him a dictator. Yes, he was a dictator. But why they cannot call Museveni, a 42-year brutal dictator in power, a dictator? That was standard by the UK government, led by Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister. We as Ugandans, we condemn the brutal dictator of Uganda, Museveni. And we are calling the Prime Minister to do the same, to condemn and stop the financial muscle they give to this brutal dictator. We call on the UK to stop the training of militias from Uganda, because when they go back to Uganda, they are raping Ugandans. They are sodomizing men in Uganda. Rape in Uganda is a form of torture, and we don't want to believe that when they come People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
And this is the message we are sending to the Prime Minister of the UK, Mr. Keir Starmer, that he should stop the military cooperation between Uganda and the UK. The UK stands for human rights and democracy. The brutal dictator in Uganda believes in dictatorship. We are the victims of the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda. I want to mention this. When you talk about immigrants, we are the immigrants. But why are we here? We are here because of the foreign policy of the UK government. You support brutal dictators around the world. You arm them. You support them. And when they commit crimes against humanity, you don't condemn them. We run away. We come to the UK and we are called immigrants. Some of us, we've been in the UK for over 30 years. Some are 20 years. Some are 15. Some are 40 years as we stand in this group. But still, we talk about our ancestors in Uganda who are being tortured, who are being murdered by the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda. We are calling on the UK, our government, to stop the funding of the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda. That £1 billion sent to Uganda every year is being used to rape Ugandans. It's being used to sodomize men in Uganda. When we talk about the aid to Uganda, the UK should stop to send military patrol cars, because those military patrol cars are being used to kidnap Ugandans on a daily basis. When we talk about aid, to be in the form of ambulances, not military patrol cars. The aid to Uganda should not be armed, should be built in schools and hospitals, and not death torture chambers. The £1 billion goes to Uganda to facilitate and to enable the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda long stay in power. 42 years, I repeat, is more than enough. Most of you walking pastors, you are not yet born. In Uganda, we live under the longest dictatorship around the world. If Putin of Russia is a dictator and he has been in power for 27 years, why Museveni of Uganda is not a dictator and he has been in power for 42 years? We as Ugandans in the UK, we condemn the UK for bringing Museveni to Uganda. We as Ugandans, we still condemn the foreign policy of the UK towards Ugandans. You cannot call a 42-year brutal dictator to be a democrat. You are playing business, as you call it. It's a business partner. But what is that business you are talking about? Is it the gold in Uganda? Uganda sits on the largest deposit of gold in the world. We have petrol oil. We have uranium. Name it. All the minerals in the world you hear, they are valuable in Uganda. We don't want to believe that the UK has decided to forget Ugandans in the name of business. We as Ugandans will still condemn the UK for carrying out the black diamond business with Uganda. When the war was raging in Sierra Leone, The UK imposed sanctions
all the 7 parties
on the present
have to
government,
vote yes
which was in Sierra
to
Leone.
do something.
Why
If
Uganda
one of them,
is being
even if
led
it's
by a brutal dictator and the UK is silent?
even if
Is
one,
it because
one
of our
party
gold from
represents
Uganda?
which
Is it because of our oil from Uganda that the UK is quiet on the human rights abuses in Uganda? The lack of democracy, while the UK is the father and the mother of democracy in the world, why are they silent on Uganda? We call on the Prime Minister to speak up about Uganda, that 42 years is more than enough. We can see our friends next to us. They are telling us that we have to be together, we unite, we love, and let us hope that one day the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda will be gone. But how is he going to be leaving that power? The UK stands responsible in removing the brutal